Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights. Here comes the final part of my dueling questions with Gary Vaynerchuk, GaryVee. And I want to thank my sponsors, Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication, ComC.com, Burbank Sports Cards, Mike's Stadium Sports Cards, Heritage Auctions, Huggins & Scott Auction, Upper Deck, Panini, and Topps. Gary, thanks for taking the time. As I said, a very busy guy. I used to be that busy. I'm not that busy anymore, but I am having a good time interviewing people. And I'd been wanting to have Gary on for a long time. I actually was familiar with his work more than 10 years ago when I read some of his early books. And I thought, I like the way this guy thinks. I didn't realize that a lot of his thinking was looking at a certain magazine 40 years ago. Again, thanks, Gary. Thanks, listeners. Here's the last part of my discussion with Gary. Hope you enjoy it.
In hindsight, I really have always been about the customer, the market. I admire the words coming out of your mouth. We have a lot of similarities. To me, it's the consumer, then the team. If you care about the consumer and then your team, everything you want for yourself will be there if you focus on those two things first. And yes, I would say that it's incredible when I think about, I made a lot of noise in the wine business once I got involved in my father's business. And it can't be stressed enough how much of me being a talented retailer and innovating and understanding the power and importance of the wine spectator came from the Beckett Price guide and my baseball card shows.
Okay. There's a book, The Customer Comes Second. If you treat employees best, then they'll take care of it. But ultimately, the founder, I believe, one of your secrets, one of my secrets is customer intimacy. You need to understand the customer. Now, you've taken it in a marketing direction, the marketing instincts, but I'm totally a product guy. I'm interested in building the best mousetrap, and the marketing will take care of itself.
Yeah.
You're going to take a good mousetrap and you're going to market the heck out of it.
But I would say this, I think you'll appreciate this. I'm jumping in here. Yes-ish. My opening line, so I have a very large ad firm, and we're definitely the hot guys and gals on Madison Avenue these days as things have become more social media, and we put a flag in the ground in 2009 on that. I had a meeting literally yesterday where, to your point, and it's a tremendous point, the gentleman and the lady, the co-founders, their CMO, they do the presentation, and I literally said, I really don't think you should hire us. I don't think your product's ready. To your point, my great skill is to get a lot of attention in a more effective way than my contemporaries for whatever it is. But I learned a long time ago, to your point, use the word great and then use the word good. Unfortunately, many people have average to below average, non-differentiated products. I think your point's well taken. You're right. If the product's good, and good's a very powerful word. It's not great, but it's good. And it does have some value from differentiation on price or service or quality of the product, then what I do really works. But let there be no confusion. The only great things I've ever done in my life have been when the product itself, to your point, was great, because then the whole flywheel is really humming.
No, because when the product if it's not good, if it doesn't work, then you're going to have trouble. If it does work, that's not enough. It has to be something that can go viral, that you're going to tell your friends. And that's V-Friends. That's everything I did. Put it out there and put it out there in such a way that the customer says, this is exactly what I'm looking for. And frankly, one of my buddies that gave me your second book, his famous statement, which maybe came from your book, he said, people say, if you build it, they will come. He said, in the internet age, it's if they come, you will build it. And I learned intuitively early on, listen to what the customer, hey, this is great, but what if you had this? And if it's
100%,
deliver it to them, then now all of a sudden they're invested in your product because that's why we did so many readers write. I don't know if you ever sent in letters.
Of course.
The readers write. We acted on many of those things. And we don't have to say, hey, you sent us a letter, we're going to act on it. We just did it. Like I say, the marketing was implicit in they could tell we were listening. They could see we had these really sharp guys at all the shows, including me, because I was on the travel circuit as well.
back to you. What was the trading card that really sparked your feelings, whether as a child or even later in your career?
Well, Roberto Clemente was my guy, and when I was a kid, and I always liked that. The problem I had, which, and I don't know if you have this with wine, but even though you can have some favorites, if you're doing price guides or other kind of
Yeah.
or authoritatives, you have to set aside
Yeah,
personal
your feelings.
of what your teams, your players, all those kind of things. And so now, can you believe it? I've been retired for 20 years. So now I can say, actually, I am a Dallas Cowboys fan for better or worse. And I used to be a Dallas Mavericks fan until a couple months ago.
Oh,
So,
Nico broke
you
your
know,
heart. That was
but
terrible.
but I'm just saying, but during those decades, I had to set that aside. And so I didn't really buy, sell, or trade other than
Yep.
accumulating some type cards to broaden the catalog. I get one of every new thing just to show what the example was.
When did, were you collecting in the set or paying attention to the space? I apologize. I don't know this, but I'm very curious. In the 70s or no?
I was a huge dealer in the 70s. I was one of the biggest dealers in the 70s.
So
Yeah.
Go ahead.
My first price guide, the annual book, was 1979.
That's
And
what
it
I thought. Okay.
immediately took off because I was already
In it.
known
In
and
it.
respected in the industry. It
What?
wasn't somebody coming in from outside. I was a dealer at all the main. I've been to every
That's what I thought. So let me ask you this. I wasn't sure and I didn't want to.
the customer intimacy. I was the customer.
I get it, brother. I've done this my whole
Highest form of customer intimacy.
everything. Yeah.
You got it
Everything.
too.
Yeah, it's everything I've ever done. So let me go to the question. I'm enjoying myself here. Thank you for this opportunity. Here's the question. Obviously, we started, again, I referenced 87 tops. You referenced the 84, Mattingly, 85. Those were really important years. When did you start seeing this? Obviously, we know what happened in the mid to late 80s. We really got into that incredible era. What was the earliest indication? Was it a slow burn? I know the Ricky Henderson card was incredibly important, but God, it was on 60 Minutes and national news, something that you were part of that was niche. And I'm sure in the 70s, lots of your friends and contemporaries had things to say. What are you playing around with that stuff? What did you see the early, not the obvious, the early indications like, hey, something's happening here. I bet you in a decade, this will get bigger. You got anything like that for me?
I didn't really have goals. I saw signposts. I was going in the right direction. I really thought, I think it could happen, but I wanted to do my part. I wanted to be catalytic. So I don't know that I'm the prime mover as much as I was catalytic. Now, I will say this, and I don't think I've really said this before because it will hurt some people's feelings because they'll wonder if they're the person. But one of my secrets from being around in the early 70s is knowing who the movers and shakers were. But even then, not all of them were pace setting dealers. Most of them were herd instinct. There were a few of them out there, Mr. Mint being one of them.
Oh my God, I remember.
So he followed the beat of his own drum and he could lead a parade. And so I knew who the people out there that weren't the lemmings.
Yeah.
That sounds pejorative. Again,
no, but I understand.
Want to do what everybody else is doing, but there's a few people out there that saw it coming. And again, I couldn't jump the gun, but I was prepared. I was ready because I could see it happening.
If I may, was there a national that you felt such a big increase in attendance or energy from the prior year in those, again, 70s, 80s? I'm talking 80s, really. Even anything pre-87 to me is fascinating lore and history because I watched carefully from 84 to 87. 87 was the year that every kid in my class was collecting. 84, it was me and a couple of others. The homework I've been able to do on 75 to 84 is limited. When I get a chance to speak to somebody like you, I enjoy learning something or hearing something anecdotal or interesting. If I asked you, not for Beckett or you, but for the overall card industry, was there anything that happened, call it between 79 and 83, 78 and 84, that was a interesting moment of something of note that you think is like a little plug in the narrative of how cards became a Global phenomenon.
Well, I'll give you a different plug.
Please.
For my role and in my intersections. Okay. 79
Please.
coming out with an annual price guide that was comprehensive, was well received, and was a big deal. It gave people something.
What did people have before then, if anything?
They really didn't have much of any. They had nothing that was, they had nothing that was comprehensive. They just, here are the prices, take it or leave it, all that stuff. Then 84 with the monthly baseball, that was a big deal.
That was huge.
87 in October of 87. It's, what is it, Black Monday or Black Tuesday?
Yes.
Crash. Vintage cards, baseball vintage doubled literally overnight within a couple months. And so that got some attention, even in the negativity of a horrible stock market. Okay. Then you get to the 91 National. That was the first National in Anaheim that was bigger than what the Dallas Card Show is now.
Got it.
And that was huge. Lines around the block out in near Disneyland. That was amazing. And then the hobby was still strong in the early 90s. The baseball strike in 94, 95 was
devastating.
Devastating. And that really dropped the bottom out of, because baseball
was driving the whole thing.
Our flagship. It was always our flagship. But again, even then, the silver lining there is that when baseball misstepped,
they misstepped.
A kind of criminal. They have a right to do what they want to do, but both entities think they have monopoly, and together they do, but they couldn't work it out. Okay, so that allowed these other sports to blossom. You fast forward now, basketball's huge, football's hockey is huge in Canada and has the most passionate group anyway.
I know, I love it.
Non-sport is coming on strong. Okay,
very strong.
Kind of intellectual property that has a following has potential for card treatment.
That's right. That's the journey I'm going through right now with friends.
Exactly.
Dr. Beckett, where do you live?
Dallas.
I'm going to reach out to you. I'd love to share a meal sometime this year. This has just been so enjoyable. I apologize. I have to go to a public event right now, but thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate it, Gary. Thanks for all you do to promote the hobby. We're all in this together. It's one big
I agree.
And thanks for your huge part in it.
Thank you, my brother. Take care of yourself.